the squad working on the mental health and burnout and preventing burnout across the team. So what we were thinking, the problem statement was, how might we help candidates and their teams reduce the likelihood of burnout during campaigns? So this was a big question and really impacting both the core campaign team and the campaign volunteers. This is where we focused. Obviously, this burnout can affect a lot of people, but this was the area of focus for us. From there, just looking at what are the kind of the learnings from the initial research and discussion session that we had. One, there's like few key drivers for volunteer burnout. So one being they don't know how to contribute to the campaign. They don't want to do a bad job. They don't want to mess up. They feel maybe disconnected from the higher purpose when they're in the weeds of it, going kind of like day to day throughout the campaign. A couple others is feeling lonely while they're doing this day-to-day activity, as well as like not having a sense of community or not feeling valued by the campaign. So these were some of the key kind of drivers of volunteer burnout. Then when we look at the core team, there's also, I mean, because of these things above, there's high volunteer turnover, which leads to poor like kind of organization, loss of work, loss of knowledge, and a lot of onboarding, because you have to constantly bring in new volunteers if people are leaving and burning out. And then the secondary piece there is just a lot of repetitive knowledge transfer that is not efficiently done. And it's challenging for everyone involved. And so here we've got those kind of core drivers of burnout for both the volunteers and for the team itself. And so what we did was designed a new kind of a volunteer onboarding workflow that would solve for these drivers of burnout, and also built a form to kind of help automate. So there's a tech layer of this to help automate parts of the process. And so I'm going to take you through first the journey map. So here we've kind of got a volunteer says they're excited, they want to get started. They fill out this form where they get an introduction from the candidate, as well as comment on like their mobility, their commitments level, and their skill set, and then immediately can book a meeting for a group cohort session. So they can get together with other people who want to volunteer and a community kind of leader who will facilitate that group session and make them feel special, make them feel excited, energetic, build that sense of community and connection, while also giving them awareness of the different roles they could play within a campaign. Once they have that understanding of those roles, we've got the form that identified their skill sets. Thinking about the goals and expectations they have for their involvement with the campaign, we can then help them choose a role where they would then go through and have specific onboarding training or whatever. If you have to do phone calling, what's the script? How do you use the tool? If you're doing door knocking, what's the purpose of door knocking? Are there tools to use in door knocking? All that kind of more logistical process detail would happen after the initial kind of community building and bringing people together. And so along the way, these green things here are the feelings we want those folks to have going through this process, addressing, again, those kind of core causes of burnout from the very beginning of that onboarding process. And then the next piece of this is where we see the work from the last team also really fitting in well, is we want to have check-ins and nudges to see, how are you liking this? Like, are you enjoying the stuff that you're doing? To see, maybe they want to try a different task. They want to keep doing what they're doing, in which case we can check in later. Or they become the community ambassador to lead more of those group sessions and become kind of like building that community of like, oh, I went through this myself and now I'm helping run it. And it really fosters a nice sense of community. And then, yeah, along the way, there's also this piece here I didn't mention, but following up via email with some clear next steps after they pick a role. So it can take them through and reduce the amount of continuous repetitive sharing that the team has to do for information like the organizational chart, the mission of the campaign, some of these things that might be a bit more kind of repetitive and shared over and over and over again. So having helping them create those assets and embedding it into an automated workflow where they can just kind of hit start, and as soon as things happen, people book the calendar event, they get an automatic follow-up after, et cetera, et cetera. So it's reducing the workload of onboarding while also providing a better onboarding experience with more context, more support, and also autonomy along the way. So people can make choices about like, what role do they want to take on? How do they want to engage? When do they want to engage? All of these different factors, which we saw were drivers of burnout. So that is the new kind of the overview of the workflow that we had in mind. And then also tying into, this is like a future state, is like, as you build this out, you're also building a database of the skill sets of volunteers across the organization. You can start to customize this onboarding. If you have different campaign strategy, you can bring in different roles depending on what your needs are at that time. If you're shifting into like you're in the pre-planning mode versus you're shifting into the full-on execution and door knocking, like ramp up for election day. So a lot of these like customizable options afterwards by collecting this data. And so that's the workflow we designed. And then we have the intake form here. Elena, Elena, Danny, do you want to talk to some of the form here?
I guess I can start and Danny can jump in. So basically what we're trying to do here is adding a more human face to the volunteer, that they feel like they're actually contributing something, and that their role is also, they have some agency and some autonomy in this as well, where they can kind of gauge what they want to do for the campaign and they see themselves as most valuable. So here they can select the skill sets they enjoy and what they want to learn more about. So they might already have some previous expertise, but they see that this volunteer opportunity as, you know, an opportunity to actually learn more and gain some expertise in something else, and contribute in a meaningful and enjoyable way. That's what we also want to emphasize, is that the volunteer is enjoying their experience. And we also use some more questions to kind of gauge their interest. Have they worked on previous campaigns? And then what they're passionate about. An example we kind of came up with as a case, we all realized we're dog people, and we thought, you know, maybe we would list that we are passionate about rescuing dogs or dogs in general. Say the candidate had an event with a local rescue and they were looking at their volunteers for people who would be interested in helping. And maybe searching through the data and seeing that, you know, John Doe loves working with rescues, they can reach out to them and he can have a wonderful, passionate opportunity to contribute to the campaign.
I can't hear anybody speaking.
Oh, she just finished.
Oh,
but maybe no one else could hear. I don't know if everyone could hear Jean. Okay, but
I did. I hope everyone heard me.
I heard you, but I think what Jean was saying was just the reason for having the passion question in there as well, is like identifying who is motivated by what things. Oh, she's on Spotlight now. Perfect.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear anything that Jean said. That's what you
okay. I can go again really quickly.
Yeah.
So basically the two questions, there's one about passion and there's one about reasons for joining the campaign. And so what we're really trying to find out there is your internal motivation and your personal passions, because people who are internally motivated are less likely to get burnt out anyways. And also being able to identify people who have strong passions, those are also another indicator of someone who's going to have longevity within a campaign, because those are transferable skills. So being able to have that fire and being able to have that determination is going to make someone a little bit grittier and stickier in situations for like longevity in terms of like volunteer retention. So trying to identify those skills and then giving those people more responsibility with the expectation that they're going to be more long-term.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And then the last bit of it was just kind of some more logistics and coordination once they've gone through, shared their passions, interests, learning what they find joy in, just kind of simple, quick coordination.
You're muted.
Am I? Can no one hear me?
I could hear you.
Okay. Maybe there's something on Danny's end. I'm not sure, but yeah. So logistics and kind of like going over just like some intro information. And so that's the last section of the form. And then so the kind of key drivers back to the goals we had. One is like providing people with supported autonomy. So it's like, yes, give them autonomy to make choices, but also don't just leave them to make whatever choice they want, because there's going to be too many options. And if you're new to a campaign, you won't really know what you can choose from. So the idea of supported autonomy, building community from the very beginning, making sure they're aware of like the goals and desired impact, both internally and of the campaign, so they can pick a role that fits their needs, they feel satisfied and fulfilled by, and making it very clear and communicating expectations up front so everyone is aligned. And then for the core team, you're reducing the cognitive load of doing manual knowledge transfer to new volunteers, creating like automatic feedback loops within their volunteer teams, creating a skill database so that for different organizing events or something quick is happening and you need people, it's easier to find, okay, who could do this type of thing, and then directly reaching out to them. And then at the end of the day, all this data can be linked back to a campaign CRM for more automation going into the future. So I know we kind of rushed through it there at the end, but that's the overview of our solution. It was an awesome team came together.